In the vibrant and colorful decade of the 1980s, music became a cultural phenomenon that defined an entire generation. With the rise of genres such as rock, pop, new wave, and punk, bands emerged in every corner of the world, filling radios and dance floors with their innovative sounds. The arrival of MTV transformed the way music was consumed, turning artists into visual icons and bringing many to instant fame. However, in the midst of this hustle and bustle, there were a group of bands that, despite their talent and potential, disappeared without a trace, as if they had never existed. Before starting this video, remember to subscribe and like. Today, we will explore the history of 10 of these forgotten bands, those who briefly shone in the musical firmament of the 80s, but for various reasons, failed to endure in the collective memory. The first of these bands is the B-Boys, an alternative rock group that, with their fresh and energetic sound, captured the attention of critics and the public. Their debut album, full of catchy melodies and witty lyrics, promised a bright future, but lack of label support and fierce competition led them to disband after only a couple of years. Another band that deserves to be remembered is the Monitors, who fused rock with elements of soul music. Their single "I Can't Wait" became a minor hit, but despite their talent, they failed to capitalize on that momentum. Internal tensions and lack of artistic direction led them to split up, leaving behind a legacy that few know about. Then we have the Big F, a punk band that, although they had a significant impact on the local scene, never managed to break nationally. Their raw energy and provocative lyrics resonated with the youth of the time, but lack of promotion and changing musical trends relegated them to oblivion. The Lifers also deserve a mention. With their new wave style, they captured the essence of the decade, but their sound failed to adapt to the evolution of the genre. Despite having a couple of well-received albums, the lack of a big hit led them to disband, leaving their fans with a feeling of nostalgia for what could have been. One of the key factors contributing to the decline of these bands was the rapid evolution of music technology during the 1980s. The introduction of synthesizers and digital recording techniques changed the sound of popular music, leading many bands to struggle to keep up with the new trends. While some groups embraced these technological advancements and successfully integrated them into their sound, others found it challenging to adapt, resulting in a disconnect with their audience. This technological shift not only affected the music itself, but also the way it was produced and marketed, leaving many talented bands behind as the industry evolved. Finally, we cannot forget the Shakes, who, with their mix of rock and pop, seemed to be on the right path to fame. However, industry pressure and a lack of a clear vision led them to make decisions that resulted in their demise. As we explore these stories, it is important to reflect on the factors that contributed to their demise. The music industry of the 1980s was an unforgiving place, where trends changed rapidly and competition was fierce. Many of these bands faced challenges that, while not insurmountable, proved too much for them. Lack of label support, internal problems, and the inability to adapt to an ever-changing musical landscape were just some of the reasons why these bands failed to remain in the collective memory. Despite their short-lived existence, the impact of these bands on pop culture should not be underestimated. Their music, although forgotten by many, continues to resonate in the hearts of those who were lucky enough to discover it. In the next chapter, we will delve into 5 other bands that, like the aforementioned, left a mark on 80s music, but also faded into the mists of time. Additionally, the cultural landscape of the 1980s played a significant role in shaping the music scene. The rise of youth culture, driven by the influence of television and film, created a demand for music that resonated with the experiences and aspirations of young people. Bands that failed to connect with this cultural zeitgeist often struggled to find their place in the industry. The competition was fierce, and many talented musicians found themselves overshadowed by more commercially viable acts. This environment made it difficult for some bands to carve out a niche, leading to their eventual disappearance from the mainstream. If you are liking the video, remember to subscribe and leave your like. As we continue our journey through the music of the 80s, it's time to discover 5 other bands that, although they shone brightly in their time, also faded into oblivion. We begin with the Jets, a group that fused rock with Latin music rhythms, creating a unique sound that captured the attention of many. Their single "Crush on You" became a chart hit, but despite their promising start, the lack of a second big hit and pressure from the music industry led to their dissolution. Years later, their music remains a reminder of what could have been. Then there is the Outfield, who, with their signature pop rock sound, scored a big hit with Your Love. However, despite their initial popularity, the band was unable to maintain the same level of success on their subsequent albums. As the musical landscape changed, their style became less relevant, and although they continued to make music, they never managed to regain the attention they once had. We cannot forget the Dream Academy, who with their hit "Life in a Northern Town" captured the essence of the era with their ethereal and melancholic sound. Despite their initial success, the band failed to keep up with the industry, and their distinctive style faded into a sea of more commercial trends. Years later, their music remains a symbol of an era, but their legacy has largely been lost. Next, we find The Call, a group that combined alternative rock with deep, poetic lyrics. Their single, "Let the Day Begin," resonated with many, but despite their talent, lack of promotion, and changing musical trends, relegated them to oblivion. Despite their short career, their music has been rediscovered by new generations, reminding everyone that their message still has relevance. Finally, we cannot overlook the Fix, who, with their mix of rock and new wave, achieved several chart hits. But as the 80s came to an end, their sound became less popular. Despite continuing to create music, the band never managed to regain the attention they once had, and their legacy has faded with time. As we reflect on these stories, it is clear that nostalgia for the 80s has led to a resurgence of interest in the music of that era. Festivals and tributes have allowed some of these bands to be rediscovered, and their influence is felt by contemporary musicians looking to the past for inspiration. The culture of the 80s has come back with a vengeance, and many of these forgotten bands are getting the recognition they deserve. However, it is also important to remember that the music industry is an unforgiving place, where fame can be fleeting and trends change quickly. Many of these bands faced challenges that, while not insurmountable, proved too much for them. Lack of support from record labels, internal problems, and the inability to adapt to an ever-changing musical landscape were just some of the reasons why these bands failed to remain in the collective memory. Despite their short-lived existence, the impact of these bands on pop culture should not be underestimated. Their music, although forgotten by many, continues to resonate in the hearts of those who were lucky enough to discover it. In the end, their legacy endures in the history of music, reminding us that even if some voices fade away, their echo can live on in the memory of those who heard them. Thus, we close this chapter on the forgotten bands of the 80s, with the hope that their music will continue to be rediscovered and appreciated by new generations. As always, if you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. See you in the next video.